everyone else here said also is that every film starts with a story, and you don't really need equipment, you don't really need high tech in order to tell the story. You can write with a pen and paper. And as soon as that seed is planted, I find it very helpful to talk to friends and people I trust and just kind of bounce off the idea. And when you have a really good idea, you can shoot it on an iPhone. You know, you don't have to have this super fancy camera, or you don't have to have. Once you have a story and you're passionate about something, everything falls in place. You can talk to people, and somebody will say, "Hey, you know what? I can give you a ripped copy of my final cut, and I can show you how to do it." You don't really need money to start planting a seed. Eventually you start, there's so much free software now and so much cheap, inexpensive cameras that you can use. I think that, basically don't let yourself be hindered by the technology and the how. Just think of the story first and everything else will come.
Yeah, and I would add on to that, and I agree with that, the story starts first. I work with a lot of poets, hence the cat. And I always tell them I'm a little bit envious because your craft is so easy. You need a pen, a paper, and a microphone. I have to buy SD cards, cameras, lenses, audio equipment, tripods, monopods, software, After Effects. I mean, it's just endless. But what I would say about that is that I've been approached by, so for example, most of my work resonates in the sort of global development world, right? So there's not a lot of artists or filmmakers who really are ingrained in that world, and there needs to be. So I will talk to anybody who might be interested in pursuing that sort of career path. But what I do have is that I have a lot of people that say, we go on these amazing trips, or I've done this, I've lived overseas, I have a story that I want to tell, and you just have to be honest with yourself, because filmmaking is a hard craft. If you want to be a one-person crew, you have to know yourself well enough to know that you can technically be able to handle figuring out editing. And that is not easy. The software is easier now, I think, but still, it took me 3 years to learn how to edit. And I only chose how to learn to edit because I couldn't afford the money to hire an editor. So I just went nuts, and I gave up my life for 3 years, and I was like, I'm gonna learn how to do this. And so be honest with yourself. If you want to pursue the one-person film thing, great, but know that it's an investment of years. The other way to handle it is that you can be a director and hire your tech crew. If you're good at leading people, if you have a vision, you can find, for example, film students who want to build their reel. And you can find a cinematographer, and you can find an editor, and you can find people who will, fill those positions to get your feet wet. If you have a really strong story and you're really good at getting a strong producer, you can get an amazing crew. On the flip end, I will say that I feel like I became a better filmmaker after I learned everything, because I can direct the camera person much differently now that I shoot. And now when I'm shooting, I'm thinking in the edit. So it has helped me evolve as a storyteller by learning all the different pieces of it. It's not easy. I'll say that.
Exactly. You mentioned about especially when I started, it was kind of the beginning of the web series was starting to happen, and YouTube. I think around maybe 2009 or around that time. So I was a little bit crazy. I went. There was a lot of workshops. This is when Borders Bookstore was still around, and a lot of people web series creators Tony Climax, all these different directors were there, and they were just starting out. And so I would just go out, mingle, and I was kind of the youngest person there, learning about this new wave of web series. I went out to California, took just accumulated a couple of dollars, went out to LA, was at a hotel, and it was on the highway, took a taxi to get to these little meetings. But I met a lot of people, and learning about the web series in LA. But it's definitely what you mentioned, just going out to networking, meeting people, and I'm a very nervous person, so coming up to people and saying hello, but yeah, always have a business card or something like that to show, and because you never know who you're gonna meet, I was at a Fifth Friday event in New Jersey, And I met LaMonda Williams. She's like on the radio, like 107.5, and so I just came up to her, started talking and mingling, and it's like, this is in New Jersey, and like Hackensack, you don't know if you meet somebody like that, but yeah, it's like, and it definitely helps building relationships and just learning from other people, always asking questions, because I still do that today. And just like you mentioned about like for editing, I had to do all that stuff on my own, like Final Cut Pro, getting those programs, and and it takes some time, but just really learn all the different softwares. It's really something just pass on to you guys. I'm still learning that. So.
When I was in school, they were still teaching us like film and the kind of old Hollywood system of filmmaking. And while it was interesting and good to know the basics, it wasn't practical for me to apply to a filmmaking career now. And so I really did a lot of my own research. Again, the internet was huge, like no film school and stuff like that. I would always try to stay up to date on, what's going on in the tech world and in the tools world, but also just, as they said, its story is first and foremost. But I also am a big believer in learning from other people's mistakes. And so, you should absolutely go volunteer on other people's sets. There is no set out there that will not welcome someone who will work for free. And so, get on set, learn from the director, learn from the cinematographer, learn, the mistakes they're making or what they're doing right. I think that's the best way to get experience without having to, put in any of your own money. It really just costs you time, and it's what you make of it. And also, while I believe that it's great if you can be a one-person crew, and if that's your style, go for it. But just because you can do everything doesn't mean that you should. Film is inherently collaborative, and I would be nothing without my collaborators. And I largely found my people that I work with that are sort of, I call them my film family, largely through sort of finding people who had similar passions that I did and cared about certain types of storytelling and had skills that I don't, and we sort of created a collective where we work on each other's projects and kind of barter skills, and it's very communal and very community focused, and that's really how I love to make films, because I think that storytelling is so much bigger than just one person and their desire.
Can I just add on one thing, because I do agree with that, but for projects where you travel internationally, you can't bring a 5-person crew. So like my dream, like I want to do a narrative film for the experience of really being able to do like something together and it does well and we're celebrating and this whole thing. But I just wanted to clarify, it's not that I am unable to work with people. No, but I was like, it's just that my budgets wouldn't allow me to bring anybody.
I agree with everything you said. I don't want to say I was a one-person crew, but I had to do a lot by myself when I was doing my short, and that's because first of all, poverty was wasn't the way, blocking my way. But also, I think it was a gift from God, from the universe, because I hired a DP, a woman DP, and then last minute she couldn't make it. And I was like, well, I have the camera, I know how to use it. And I was like, what, this is going to be like really shaky, let me just do it. And then I did it, and then people were like, I like that shot when you did it. I'm like, what? Then, it was just a process for me to really kind of like learn myself to know that, okay, now you have the reassurance you were looking for that you can do it. But I'm not going to say to advocate. If you don't have the money, people are going to be flaky, do it yourself.
Yeah.
But if you can find people and, join all these Facebook groups, because there was a lot of resources. I'm like, oh my gosh, where have I been? I had no idea there were so many Facebook groups of women and men, like creative people who were just so willing to jump in and help. So, I would say that, depending on the circumstances, like, be flexible. It's good to know those things, so you don't overpay. Like 4 years ago, I did a web series, and I remember like watching people's reels and very fancy stuff they put in their reels, and they're like, oh, it's gonna cost you $600, $800 a day, and I'm like, okay, I have the vision. Let me ask, and you show me receive. So I did a little Kickstarter campaign, borrow my father so many times, asked my father to borrow my uncle, tell them to donate and donate and donate, and all that money pretty much went towards a crew. And the project, I never completed the project, and I'm not saying that's what's going to happen if you spend money, because the quality was good, But what I know now, I could have said, okay, forget the red. We can do this with a smaller camera, not that expensive equipment. I could have saved money. I could have fed people salad instead of pizza. I could have said, other things could have been, it could have been a better process, but that's because I did not know. That's why I thought that I needed those fancy things, right? But I think, networking, meeting new people, and then shadowing other people. So any very dope DP out here that I can shadow you because I need to know how to do it. So, yeah.